This is the Best or Worst Podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Koji Stephen Sakai and M. Martin Mapoma.
Yes, I am Martin.
And I am Mr. Sakai.
Mr. Sakai, okay. Best or Worst Podcast. Our Society is, this is episode number 68.
68, yeah.
Let me get to that one. Cool. All right, our society is so focused on celebrity, we sometimes forget that regular people lead interesting lives, too. Best or worst moment of your life. Host Koji Stephen Sakai.
That's me.
And Martin Mapoma, that's me, are here to let your story out. We put people on the spot. What are you going to hear? It could be funny. It could be poignant. It could be sad. You'll know when we know. Best or Worst Podcast is a twice-weekly podcast. On Tuesdays, we get to know our guests, and on Thursdays, we find out their best or worst moment.
Great. Well, welcome. We have today. Now, by the way, Martin, that was a way better reading than the last one. Or for everyone listening, it's the next episode I made fun of, or 2 episodes from now, I make fun of Martin on his reading of it. So I thought that was a way better job. But today I'm super excited to bring on my friend, writer, producer, director, Dodger fan, Laker fan, and unfortunately, the only thing that he has one issue about that is
Chicago Bears.
Acting.
Chicago Bears.
No, he's a UCLA Bruin, which makes him a little bit suspect. But we'll go ahead and talk to him.
What makes me love him instantly because my dad's a Bruin.
Oh yeah,
and,
whatever.
So.
Well, I mean, I teach for UCLA, so. But
I don't understand that.
I'm definitely a USC dude. Well, what do you mean? My job, whoever's going to hire me, I'm going to work at. But Tom Huang, how are you?
Good. How about you guys? I'm doing just a little bit better. It's a day after election day for us right now, so it's really crazy. So it feels like hopefully things are kind of calming down and moving in the right direction.
Yeah,
calming down.
Yeah. I'm sorry, things are just starting. So as far as just the vote counting part, now it's going to be crazy next few days, of course. But yeah. I really thought this would be my worst moment that I'd be talking about. But
hey, you know what? Me too. But it's looking good.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, yeah.
Well, let's not jinx it too early.
Yeah,
I know.
Tom, is that your office, Tom? That you're in? Is that where you do the magic happens and you're writing, producing, directing?
That's right. This is where the magic happens and junk is stored. But it's basically my garage office. So go ahead.
I have to do the same. I mean, I have my office in my I have an office where I have all my things, but it's also a garage. I used to be a garage.
Yeah,
and I spend an incredible amount of time making sure that other people's stuff does not end up in my office because I let one thing in my office. All of a sudden, it becomes a store. Like right now, it's a bunch of storage things actually. But as we get, I have to keep. It's like a fight I have to do because once I let things in, then it's and more things will come in. And
even the little guy.
Yeah, let's have baseball equipment. Oh well, let's put more chairs in here. Let's do it's no. We need to get out. But anyway, Tom, how did you always know you wanted to be in the film business?
Or no, well, I mean. As a kid, I always loved films and I loved movies. I loved writing, but I had immigrant Chinese family, so they kind of pushed me the other way. In high school, I acted. I actually wrote plays, and so I always found that something I loved, but I never thought I could actually do it for a living. So I actually went to UCLA, go Bruins, as a pre-econ major. Think I was going to be a lawyer. And I took one econ class. I remember very, very specifically. It was a macroeconomics class. And after the first week, I'm like, I'm done. This is crap. This is so boring. And I became an English major, even though I kind of sucked at it. I just became a creative writing major. And it was then that I knew that I wanted to write and direct. So it actually wasn't exactly then. I knew at first I wanted to act. And I went to UCLA, which is even at the time I went, it was 60%, 65% Asian. And I went to go audition for plays there, and there were no roles for me. There's maybe one role where I had to play a woman, but there wasn't. That was the only role that was available for. Yeah, and it was at that moment I realized if I wanted roles for Asian Americans, I would have to make it myself, and that's why I decided I was going to be a writer. and I enjoy that so much. I kind of transitioned to being a director too.
And I forgot to mention that you are also an actor. Sorry, my apologies. And you've been in some of your own movies as well, right?
Yeah. But I mean, I can't. I realized a long time ago that I love acting. I can't concentrate on all of them to do them all well. So I'm just kind of concentrate on writing, directing, but I still act. When I can.
Got it. Oh, one of the things that really interests me about your career is your last movie. Your what was it called? I'm sorry.
Find Me.
Oh yeah, and Find Me, and it's you did it.
Wait,
for,
what was it called? What was it called?
It's called Find Me.
Find Me. Okay.
You did it for very little money, and you starred in it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that movie?
I had a film that I was getting off the ground, and I had this great producer on board, and I really thought that something was going to happen with it. And then after like a year of waiting of nothing happening, I said, I don't know when this is going to happen. I got to make something, otherwise I'm going to drive myself crazy. So I was actually hiking through the Narrows, which is this hike in Zion National Park, where you basically hike in a river through a canyon.
Yeah.
And it was just so gorgeous and amazing that I was like, you know what? I want to make a film where people point to the screen and say, I want to go there. That just kind of started my idea for this film, Find Me, which is about a guy who's chasing a girl who leaves clues for him in national parks across the West. And so we shot in Zion National Park and Yosemite National Park and in Death Valley National Park. And it just became this backdrop that would just added so much production value to it. That it just ended up looking gorgeous on screen, and people just end up just loving the movie. I think that what ended up happening was we shot it over a year, just so all the people on the crew could like work their side jobs, and we'd shoot like 3 or 4 days a month, and then I would edit every month. And by the end of the year we had a rough cut, and it was ready to go. It also helped out that shooting over a year that we could shoot like at different times of the year at different places. So we shot in Yosemite like in June, but we can't really shoot in Death Valley in June because it's like 120 degrees and we would die.
Death.
Yeah, exactly. So we were able to shoot there in November, and so like to spread it out, it worked out really well. The film ended up doing really well in film festivals. We won a bunch of awards, and then we actually decided to self-release it and market it to people that love the outdoors and national parks, and it ended up making its money back, and then a little bit some. So it.
Oh, cool.
Well, yeah. So it was a huge success for me just to be able to make a movie that made its money back.
Congratulations.
Where can I see it?
You could see it. You could see it. It's on iTunes, on Amazon, and Google Play for rental and downloads. It's on streaming free on IMDb TV and Roku TV and Tubi TV.
I didn't know it was on IMDb.
Oh yeah. And we just we actually did really well on Amazon Prime. And then at some point, Amazon decided to change their model for indies, and they started paying a lot less. But they offered to screen on IMDb TV. So we'll see how that goes. But it's
interesting.
Yeah, it's a whole new world.
Wow, that's cool.
What the most important question I ask all Asian Americans who are creatives is, what did your parents think of your career now that you've kind of gone through? I mean, I always say I'm mid-career, so I'm gonna say you're mid-career because I think we're about the same age. Yeah. What do your parents think of you in your mid-career now that you've kind of done a bunch of things and you obviously
they hate it.
living? They still hate it?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, my mom actually recently passed away, but she fought to the end, like telling me I need to do something else. My dad is more of a kind of a goofy guy, so he actually likes movies. So he thought it was interesting that I was doing this, still thought I should get a different job. But he liked that I made movies, but he would make suggestions like, hey, you should make movies like Made in Manhattan. That's a good movie. Your movies I don't understand, but Made in Manhattan, that's a good movie. You should make movies like that.
I think it's an Asian thing, because my mom says the same thing. She's like, when she was alive, but I remember she told me, you should make movies people want to see. And I was like, wow. I was like, okay.
Oh my God.
It's not by choice.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people just do not understand this industry.
No, but
It's amazing.
It's a very Asian thing to do, though.
Well,
I think,
Yeah. Oh, hey, I'm from Africa. The same thing too, man. My parents sent me to school here for architecture.
Oh, wow.
After architecture school, I became an actor, and my parents were like, "What?" Yeah, and yeah, it was crazy.
That's the
So,
thing. That's how they show their love by
Yeah.
showing how much they hate what you're doing.
yeah.
You just kind of learn to accept it.
Well, it's being
My dad,
it's like being a tiger mom and tiger dad, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Martin, what are you gonna say?
yeah. No, I was gonna say my dad was convinced I'd wait tables the rest of my life. My dad was convinced that I'd wait tables the rest of my life.
Oh, wow.
And I said I was becoming an actor, and I said, how does that? Because
Yeah,
a lot of actors are waiters, and I'm like, so are a lot of aspiring architects and whatever else. They all have second jobs. It's.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Architects usually have a job though.
No, do
I
not
don't
get
think they
into
need a
it.
second job.
But
My dad's
starting
an
out.
architect. Yeah, well, starting out, but you usually have there's a difference. But I think what most people don't realize about creative jobs is that I think there's like even like Tom and I and you, Martin, is that there's this middle class ground of artists. Like, most people think of when they think of directors, there's like Quentin Tarantino or you're busting tables, right? Whereas somehow Tom and me, you, Martin, we're able to make a living somehow, hustling other stuff. Like Tom edits. I know you edit. I know you do other stuff. And you take gigs here and there, just like I do. And I teach.
Yeah.
We all do things that we're able to follow our dreams, but still and I think that's a common misconception. I think that's why
I manage Michelle's empire.
Yeah. That's why I think a lot of people fail, is that they think that I'm not Quentin Tarantino and I'm not, I'm never going to be that. So I might as well just quit and do something totally different. But
that's what I learned from Find Me too, is just the film, it blew up on Amazon Prime, but it was just people would email me and say hey, your film really inspired me to go see these places, go to the outdoors. And that's when I realized hey, you know what, this is why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
It's not about getting Oscars. It's not about it'd be nice to be able to live really comfortably with it. But it's about inspiring people for me. And if I could do that in some way, then I've accomplished my goal, and it's really gratifying.
That's cool.
That's great. And the follow-up question for the parents one is that I know you have children as well, but or wait, do you have multiple children, or do you have
2 sons?
2 sons, that's right. So
cool.
So do you want your kids to go in entertainment, or are you?
Well, see, I think after dealing with my parents, all of their expectations on me as far as being a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, it's when I had my kids, my goal is for them just to not be assholes. I mean, that was after one make my kids not assholes. That is my only goal, and I think it made it a lot simpler for me and not have to put the kind of pressure on them. So I'm just being that I'm going for doing something that I'm passionate about, and and trying to work to that. That's what I want them to do. Just find something they're really passionate about, no matter what it is. But the funny thing is that my parents forced me to do a lot of things as Tiger Mom and Tiger Dad. They forced me to skip a grade in math. They try to force me playing piano and all these kind of things that I totally rebelled against. And so with my kids, I was I didn't put any sort of pressures on them to do anything. I made them play basketball, baseball, stuff like that, just so they could taste it. But they end up rejecting it. I think just because they have this parent rejection gene in them that I have. As it turns out, my youngest son took up violin, and he likes it. He wants to do it. And every time he bitches me about practicing, I'm you don't have to do this. I don't want to pay violin lessons. It's you can stop at any time if you don't want to practice. And he just goes and does it. And then my older kid, he wanted to skip a grade in math. I didn't even put the idea in his head. And when he was in 8th grade, he's I want to go to algebra. So I wanted to take algebra in college so I could take geometry next year. I'm why? Why would you want to do that? It's just something that drove him, and he just did it, And I'm just my parents are proud of you right now. But so it's just, I think it's just it's kind of this thing where, sometimes you just let your kids do what they want, and maybe they end up doing whatever they're going to do,
That's interesting.
How old are your kids?
16 and 12.
Oh wow.
I feel it's complete opposite. I don't want my kid to go into entertainment or be creative at all.
Really?
No.
What's
It's just
that?
it's too challenging. It's too much like unless you're willing to do the fight and do the hustle. And
Yeah.
it's just like I mean, like it takes a special person to want to do that, you know. And
It
it's just like
does.
it's like being an immigrant. It's like it's very challenging, you know.
Yeah,
And
but
so,
there's also like a lot of jobs in entertainment that like aren't like, you know, they're competitive, but they're still like jobs you can work your way up to.
no,
Like
for
you
sure.
could be like a visual effects artist. You
Or
could be,
executive, like an executive too, right?
yeah,
On the
exactly. Those are
studio
all
side.
jobs that, like, yeah, there's
Yeah.
like, you know, being a director,
Oh,
right?
I take it back. Being creative.
Yeah,
Like I don't want to be creative. I mean, like in the like it's okay to be creative as like a hobby, but I'm also like I'm more tiger mom or tiger. Like the funny thing is my parents weren't tiger parents at all.
You are, man.
I know.
But I'm like
You are, dude.
I'm super tiger parent. Like you have to do this, and you have to do this, you have to do this. There's no questions.
One of the running themes with Koji and I is every time I hang out with Koji, I leave feeling like a terrible parent. I leave feeling like a terrible parent. It's just like, wow, I don't do shit with my kid. You know, I mean, his son's running an 8-minute mile, and I'm just like, I look at my guy like, oh, okay.
You're like,
you know,
it's like for me, it's like if I can get them out of their room for like 2 minutes, that's a good day for me. It's like, oh, I got out of the room and not in his room looking at a screen. It's like, woo, I won!
Yeah,
You know?
people are looking at me funny as my kid is running on the street and I'm driving next to him because I can't run right now.
No, Koji, please tell me you are not doing that.
We're doing that because he's still running. I can't run, but he's running. like I have to go slow and I have to make sure traffic's not coming. I'm like, keep going.
Oh my God.
You're going all rocky on you.
My God.
People are like, why is this like a 9-year-old running around right? By himself? And I'm like, no, I'm with him. I'm fine.
He's gonna
Why is he running next to the car? And why is he holding a tree stump? You know,
exactly. So does he like doing that?
He loves it. Like he wouldn't do it if he didn't like it because it's too much. I mean, it's a lot of work to run, 5Ks every day.
Yeah, I used to run them all the time.
Yeah.
To be an 8-year-old doing or a 9-year-old doing that, and then running with you next to the car.
Yeah, me yelling at him and doing inspirational videos on YouTube for him. Like playing inspirational videos. I think it's super.
You see what I'm a terrible parent.
Anyway, well, so we're at the end. We're at the end of this episode here. We thank you for getting to know us or getting to know you. We're thankful for getting to know you. You didn't need to get to know us. but we're
little thing, sure, for sure.
It's all about Koji.
we're hoping that that people will rate and review and subscribe to this podcast. So please if you're just watching this video, please go on wherever you listen to podcasts and make sure to subscribe and then please download. It does make a difference. And if you have the inclination, please write a review. So thank you, Tom. Awesome. Thank you, Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Koji.
And thank you everybody for listening. Peace out.
See you next time.
All right.